Good evening. I'd like to talk to you today about pyramid energy. So, the title of this video is, what shape are you in? I don't mean physical shape, I mean, what shape are you physically standing or sitting in? Mostly everybody is in square rooms, or rectangular rooms, or rooms with very sharp 90-degree angles everywhere. And seldom do we go into a place like church, where you'll notice it's rounded, and you'll notice how every Sunday a lot of people want to go to church. Well, they feel good in there, and the reason they feel good in there is because, one, they're focusing on something that's bigger than themselves, focusing on the big picture, but also their prayers and their thoughts are amplified by the geometric shape of that building. Most churches are round. So in filmmaking, there's something called a room tone, and it's the sound that a room makes. So no room is ever completely silent. Even if you walk in a room and it's silent, the sound's always getting reflected by the walls. So can create harmony or discord. It's actually the air molecules bouncing off of the walls. They're bouncing this way and up and down and diagonal. So that's like 3 notes, and those 3 notes can either work together in harmony, like when you're playing a piano and 3 notes sound together, it sounds really nice, gives you a certain feeling. Or if you do 3 notes that don't go together, and it gets a weird noise. It's kind of like nails in a chalkboard. So the thing with shapes is that, have you ever heard that saying, think outside of the box? Well, how are we supposed to do that if we're sitting in boxes all the time? So it's really good to put yourself in different shapes. So outside is really nice because you're not in any of your nature shapes, and nature has it all figured out. When you go into man-made buildings, you have to look at the geometry. So some people go their entire life without going inside of a pyramid structure, and Russia has done a lot of research on pyramids. They've built huge pyramids all over Russia and conducted a lot of research on them. They found that putting stone blocks, they actually did this, the Russian Science of Academics, they put stone blocks inside of a pyramid and charged up those stones in the pyramid and then built a prison out of them. And the criminal behavior was decreased, basically. The behavior changed dramatically just because those stones were charged in a pyramid. They weren't even in a pyramid. They found that pyramid structures reduce earthquakes, and that bad weather will actually just go around an area with pyramids instead of going through it. You have to wonder why they're on the back of the dollar bill, and you notice on the $1 bill there's a pyramid that's steeper like this. This is called a Nubian pyramid. It's steeper. It's not like this. It's like this. And basically it all has to do with the angles. The angles are the important part. So if you look at the corner of a room, you'll notice that it makes a corner like this, where it's a sharp point. And in feng shui, this is called a poison arrow. And the direction that point points, if you stand there for long enough, especially if you stand in the middle of all 4 of them, or where you're getting hit by 2, or you have your bed right there, or you're on your computer, and that poison arrow energy is constantly hitting your energy body. Basically just make it harder to do personal growth, to kind of grow out of your mind, out of old patterns. Of course there's, this is just like a tool. The ultimate thing is just actually doing it and changing, but I like to use both halves of the brain and use all the tools available to me. So I'm using my neurophone in this thing while I'm meditating, while I'm listening to isophonic beats, which are better than... Alright, it cut me off. So I was talking about isophonic beats. They're better than binaural beats because your brain doesn't get used to them. So, and also listening to them through the neurophone bypasses the eighth cranial nerve, which is what we use when we use our ears to listen to things. But when you beam it ultrasonically into the brain with the neurophone, it actually goes directly into long-term memory and bypasses all the normal filters. Because when we sleep, our ears turn off. So listening to tapes through our ears isn't going to work. But if you can put it through the skin, through the nervous system, it actually goes directly into long-term memory, and it's like literally uploading programs directly onto a computer, which is what is possible with the neurophone. But when you use these beats, and like I've been doing subliminal programming myself, I have different programs like healthy relationships, confidence, think big, visualization ability, photographic memory, improve your posture, healthy body image, become debt-free, money beliefs, confidence, on and on and on. This is a computer, but why not just use all the tools available? I'm not perfect. I've made so many mistakes, and we all have, but there's a way to kind of speed up the process and just help yourself to grow and to get out of these old patterns that hurt ourselves and hurt others. So basically, I'm using and I'm interested in finding and sharing tools that allow us to reach our highest potential and to tap into love more easily, more often, and with more intensity. So that's kind of what this pyramid is about. I like meditating in this thing because it's all about the angles. That's kind of what creates the little energy in here. David Wilcock says it's like a funnel. That's what this pyramids do in general, is it creates an energetic cosmic funnel. So energy actually gets pushed up through it and around. And so when I'm sitting in it, especially 1/3 from the top, that's called the King's Chamber. And that's where the energy is really concentrated. So that's like right here, where I am, like where my heart is pretty much. And the angles are based, when you take the cosine and the tangent of all the angles, it makes the Fibonacci sequence golden ratio, which is 1.618. And that number is found all throughout nature if you do the math. And the Fibonacci sequence basically is 0, 1, 1, 2, 5, 8, 13. You take each number and you add it to the previous number until you get, it pretty much goes on to infinity. And it's kind of like the love number, because love's pretty much infinite as well, and it never repeats. So if you take the number in front and you divide it in the number back, you get a number that's close to 1.618. And when you get far enough up, like around 144, it'll actually make 1.618, but then there will be numbers after it, and those will keep changing, and it's forever changing. That's how love is. It's never stagnant, it's always flowing, it's always infinite. So that number is found everywhere, from the way our cells divide, the way galaxies are, the way the ocean is, the way leaves form, the dimensions of our face. If you take your, go to CVS or something, have that thing squeeze your arm, take your blood pressure, the systolic and the diastolic, if you divide the closer it is to 1.618, the less likely you are to have a heart attack. So this is basically kind of, it has to do with organization. So the healthier we are, the more organized we are, the more efficient we are, and everything's working right. And that's all based off of how nature works, because nature's super ultra organized and everything's really efficient, works perfectly. But the further we get from nature, the further we get from that number, the Fibonacci sequence, the more we're in rooms like the boxes, the more we take ourselves out of that equation. And when we no longer fit in the equation of nature, then that's when we get aging, that's when we get disease, and pain and all that stuff. So basically it's just about plugging into that equation and sculpting your life around nature, and then everything will work. So yeah, this pyramid was designed by Nick Edward, powerofpyramids.com, I believe. Patrick Flanagan also sells them. Yeah, so just look into sacred geometry, look into the Fibonacci sequence, the golden ratio, watch documentaries. Kymatica is a good one. Just search YouTube Fibonacci sequence, and look into pyramids, and try to find a pyramid to go into and sit in, because it's a very tangible experience if you're sensitive to energy, like a lot of people are when you just start cleaning up the nervous system and taking out the heavy metals and the GMOs and all the other stuff. You kind of get more sensitive to EMFs. You can no longer like hold a cell phone up to your head for that long. At least I can't. And so that sensitivity and energy you can use to your advantage by sitting in structures like this, or just going out into nature more, into the ultimate sacred geometry. But whenever you're indoors, why not make the most of it? That's all I'm saying. Peace.